Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist here, bringing you another book review. I decided to go ahead and read this because this was one of my childhood favorites, and I haven't read it in a very long time, and I wanted to see if it's as good as I remembered it. I think it's a okay book. We'll get into that in a bit. This is Goosebumps Series 2000, number 23, Slappy's Nightmare. This was the fifth book in the Slappy saga. For those of you that don't know, the first four books have been reprinted as of late, at least once. This is the only Slappy book from that time period that never got reprinted and never has been reprinted. And I always wondered why they haven't reprinted this book. And after reading it, I can kind of understand why. I think that Scholastic wanted to take what happens in this book a different direction, and I think that's what they did with the Slappy World / Horrorland books. And I heard, I haven't read them yet, but I've heard that they corrected where they messed up in this book, which a lot of people say it's the very last chapter. But before we get into all that, let's talk about the story. So the story centered around Slappy. He comes into the possession of Jimmy O. James again, the ventriloquist from Bride of the Living Dummy. And what happens to Slappy in the events of Bride, I guess, gets canceled out. And this is like its own little story where Slappy's on his last leg with Jimmy on the tolerance scale. He shows his butt one last time. Jimmy has had enough. He places a curse on Slappy using the help of his evil twin, or his good twin, Wally, that he came into possession of at a magic shop. So he puts this curse on Slappy saying you have to do 3 good deeds or you die within 1 week. So Slappy, of course, is panicked, doesn't know what to do. And these two girls, Georgia and Stella, Georgia being like the good kid and Stella being like the bratty, kid that you're supposed to dislike in the book, they missed the show that Slappy showed his butt in and pretty much almost destroyed Jimmy's career in. And Jimmy decides to give the newly cursed Slappy, or what he's calling the old Slappy, to Georgia. And the whole book is centered around Slappy trying to do good deeds, 3 good deeds centered around Georgia. I thought this whole time of the book, every time he does a good deed, it gets canceled out because the good deed, somebody is sabotaging it. Every good deed he does. And he thinks that it's one person doing it the entire book. But then it's revealed into the second to last chapter, or I think like 2 chapters before the last chapter, that it's somebody else. And for the most part, the book was fantastic read. But like I said, back to why I think this book has never been reprinted, is because of this very last chapter, where after the events of the previous chapter, it's revealed that it's Twilight Zone for Slappy. And he goes right back to the situation that he was in near the beginning of the book. And it's like we're supposed to think that he dreamed the whole thing, but then the dream becomes reality kind of thing. It's very silly. And a lot of people hate the ending. Now, this ending could have worked if they added maybe 2 or 3 chapters to elaborate maybe a difference in situation. Like, they could have did the last chapter, then added 2 more to see how the situation would have been different, or maybe Slappy would have won or got the upper hand, but it never happened. So that, for me, the ending kind of spoiled how good of a read this book actually was. This book was fantastic until that very last piece. But I really did enjoy the aspect of seeing Slappy in his own story. Centered around his point of view, centered around what he's doing. I thought that was really cool. And for once, the kids were actually the side characters. He's more of the anti-hero in the book, because you know that you learn his intentions throughout the book, but you can't help it because you just learn to love Slappy in this book. And I still think that this book still got me to love Slappy. And I definitely think, even though there's some controversy behind it and it's never been reprinted, this book you know, it's kind of pricey. I mean, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but people want like 15 plus for this book. Is the price worth what the quality of story you're getting? For a Slappy book that's ever been reprinted, I would say if you are a big fan of Slappy, I think that this one, I would be comfortable paying maybe 10 to 15, but I wouldn't pay over that personally because I don't think the story's like that big of a home run. So the ranking for this book, I'm probably gonna have to give it a lower score than I really want to give it because the bulk of the story was so good, but the ending just kind of took away from it. I really liked the imagery. There were some horrifying moments in the book, like the lunchroom scene, or there's a scene involving a baby that's kind of horrific to think done to an infant. But for the most part, there was some horrific stuff that kind of balanced it out. I won't give it a 4.5 or higher. It's definitely not going to be an above average book. I will say it's average though. So for me, I would give it between a 4.0 and a 4.5. The exact number I would give it, conservatively, I'd give it a 4.1. Only because of that ending kind of just ruined the... If it had a better ending, this would have been a 5. All day, it would have been a 5. But I'd give it a 4.1. It's like the whole story happened for nothing almost. I don't want to give anything else away, but let me know what you guys thought about Slappy's Nightmare. Did you guys enjoy the book? And I am finishing up another book I plan on doing right after this, so stay tuned and see you next time.